Hey, what's up with it, man? This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Run. So check it out, man. We're gonna talk a little bit about hustling, hustling at a very unacceptable early age, man. Now, I got introduced to the game at like 8 years old in Detroit, and this is how it went down in Detroit a little bit, man. I lived in a place called Jefferson Chalmers. It was probably 95% African American and probably 4% white and white 1% other. You know what I mean? Um, what it is growing up in Detroit, the hustle's like a whole different trip, man. So in my neighborhood, there was a group called Young Boys Incorporated, YBI. They controlled my neighborhood thoroughly. And what they did is they were mostly teenagers, early 20s. They're with it. They weren't playing. And what they would do is there was already established wholesale street sale people in the neighborhood. And back then it was H. And they would run security, curb serve, transport, etc. for the older established ballers in the community. Now, there was a little subset of Young Boys Incorporated called the Baby Wrecking Crew, of which those were my homies. Those are my little young homies from, man, it's 7, 8 years old all the way to like 13. You know what I'm saying? So what we would do to make money throughout the day was ride around on our bikes. And we had these little party whistles where if you seen basically any kind of white people or anybody who looked like cops come in the neighborhood, you start blowing the whistle and everybody, all the youngsters in the hood had whistles. So as soon as somebody crossed like Cordy, they turned off of Jefferson into the neighborhood or they turned on Fairfax or whatnot, whistles would start going off. And that would shut down all operations. Now in Detroit, there's an extreme amount of abandoned, burned down, boarded up houses. And what they would do is they would convert these houses into trap houses. A lot of homes in Detroit are made out of brick. So while they would burn, the foundation and the shell would still remain intact. The city would come through and board up all the doors and windows, entrances to the basement, etc. But it only takes either a hammer or a drill to get into it. So what they would do is they would get into these houses and set up shop. And the way they would do that is they get in through the door, then they barricade the door from the inside, then they take off one of the windows in the upstairs window. And what they would do is dope fiends would come up, on the side of the building, yell up, somebody would be up there in a mask. They drop down a rope with a little 1 gallon paint bucket on it, pull up the money, then do the same thing to drop the product. Inside of these houses, especially in the winter and nighttime, they'd have little, 50-gallon drums or whatever they are, and they'd have bonfires in there. So just in the event that, the house got hit, first they'd have to kick the door in because they'd have it boarded with, 2x4s and plywood. It wouldn't be easy. They'd sit there and have to batter it for a minute. They would simply throw all the packaging and product into the fire. Evidence gone. You know what I mean? In that time in Detroit, man, it was the only time you're probably getting busted with any kind of drug charges is to and from, the connection or if you're driving around because the security in the neighborhood, like everybody knew everybody, you know what I mean? I only knew one family that was white on Manistee. And then, it was us on Ashland, my white family, and Cuban family. Everybody else was dark. You know what I mean? There were some Jamaicans, there were some Cubans, there was Puerto Ricans, but barely any, right? So anyway, to make a long story short, we used to get breaded out $2-3 a day just to ride around, while we're doing whatever we're doing to blow whistles if things look funny. and then that would, shut down stuff. People throw hide guns, whatever the case might be. Well, when I had moved from Detroit to Houston, I would still come back during the summer. You know what I mean? So when I came back the first time after moving to Houston, the neighborhood ain't changed. You know what I mean? I come back and they're like, they used to call me Bread, or white folks, right? They'd be like, "Hey, Bread, hey man, you want to make a couple extra dollars? What I need you to do is take this bag over to such and such, wherever it might be, because YBI did enforcement and everything for everybody in the neighborhood, or them people would basically be robbed and killed. You know what I mean? So if they didn't agree to allow them to distribute and move the product, run security, transportation, all that, that dealer would no longer be able to deal, and he probably wouldn't be alive. So YBI that I remember had one, three, five, six, seven, eight different spots in the neighborhood. Like five were eight spots, two were powder spots. This was before rock, and one weed spot. Bammer, straight boo boo. So throughout the day, I'd ride, like Manistee was basically headquarters. That was a street over from mine in the middle of the block. And so a few times a day, sometimes more, I go over there, get like a bag, backpack, duffel bag, take my bike and ride it to wherever. You know what I mean? And depending on who it was, one of them older dudes would lace me up with like 5, 10, man, sometimes even $20 to take a bag on my bike from one side of the hood to the other, a few streets up, a few streets over. And you got to remember at this time, this neighborhood was so violent that when the police did come, they were coming extreme. Every time they came, it was like a raid. Even if they were coming to just serve papers, to do a warrant for a failure to appear, or whatever the case might have been. It wasn't one car just cruising through the neighborhood, because they blast at them. They throw bricks, and I mean, there's so many vacant houses, and there's alleys and abandoned lots and things that they could never catch you, and they'd be scared to get out of the car because somebody else in a vacant house might laugh at them. Man, so I didn't really understand what I was doing. I did. I knew it was drugs. You know what I mean? And I knew that if the cops came to mess with me on my bike, I had to ditch them through the alleys, because you could ditch them through the alley, because they would do things like turn over dumpsters. You know what I mean? And leave rear ends, like from cars, transmission blocks, through the alley, in order to prevent the police from being able to slide through there. So you already know, if you're on foot, man, the cops might not necessarily know until they're already halfway down the alley that they can't get through. Man, you already done bent through an abandoned lot. You're on the next street, and you're in a vacant house, man, because where there's a piece of plywood that's just sitting there essentially. You know what I mean? And you can just move it and get inside of the joint. But yeah, that went on for a while, man. That's what I would do. Ride my bike, work my whistle. And in 1983, 1984, man, 30, $40 a day, bro. I was balling at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. Man, that was big dough, man. Man, I think I got $100 bill one time from my boy Charles's older brother, who was a YBI dude. Like, he used to really look out. If he had us do something, we get paid. You know what I mean? But man, that's how it is in the hood, man. You're exposed to things that some people are never exposed to in their entire life at an early age. I remember rolling through alleys. I remember the first time I seen a person that passed, and it was from the H. Uh, One of my little homeboys, Philip, had came over to where me and Charles and Aaron and man, I can't remember the other dude's name. We were over there chilling. We were trying to build us a little fort and stuff. Like, we had a little hammer and some nails, like we were carpenters and shit, right? And dude slides up. He's like, "Hey, there's a dead dude over there." He's like, "Boys in the hood, right? You guys want to see a dead body?" Hey, so we jump on our bikes and stuff, leave our little stuff there, jump on, head one street over to the alley. Sure enough, man, there's a dude like leaning up against a garage, just it was over. Man, and these fools were doing bunny hops over the dude and like little bike tricks, like jumping in the shit, bro. It was brutal, bro. But you know, the a lot of people don't ever get exposed to things like that, man. And in Detroit, where I grew up, man, you were seeing some real weird stuff, man, by the age of like 8 or 9 years old, man. You know, you were already pretty much expected to contribute in some form or fashion. You know, if you didn't have a whistle in your pocket, you know what I mean? If you weren't rolling around on your bike, you know, man, like, you know how motorcycle clubs got motorcycles, man? We have bike clubs like that, man, for like Manistee, Ashland, Phillip, Marlboro, Lakewood. Man, we'd be like 20 something deep rolling through there. You know what I mean? You know, and every time I'd go to take something, my boy Charles, the homie Phillip, and man, I can't remember that other dude's name for nothing. I want to say it was Dupree, but I think it was Dupree. Man, we'd all roll together, man. So man, if the cops came, which they don't, but you know, them dudes always said, hey, anytime you feel any kind of wrong about a certain car or a certain person, just break wide. You know what I mean? We had little routes that we could bang where you could ditch the shit. You know what I mean? And it'd be over. There was yards with pit bulls that would fuck you up. And you know, you just drive by, you throw the bag in that yard, kind of in the bushes. Man, nobody maintained their lawns or nothing up there. It was the hood. You know, so you dip through, throw your bag in there. Cops ain't going in that yard, man. Them dogs, man, them dogs in Detroit are different dogs, man. They're all high on rabies and gunpowder and all kinds of shit, bro. You jump in the wrong yard back there, you're gonna be on the news. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that was my first exposure to real criminal activity, man. And all I would do, man, is man, I'd buy candy. I'd go to the sandwich shop. Man, I'd buy it. Man, we live right by the Detroit River. You know, you could walk there in 10 minutes. You could ride your bike there at 3. You know, and that's part of the Great Lakes, man. So we'd all be fishing. You know what I'm saying? We go to the movies down on Jefferson Avenue. Bunch of youngsters paying cash, pulling out little knots. You know what I mean? You know, it was balling to be able to pull out, you know, $40 at 8, 9 years old, bro, and buy your own ticket. Tickets were only like $3 probably back then, you know, and just living it up. But nobody ever got busted or nothing like that just because of the environment, man. It was so anti-cop and such a tight-knit community. Nobody was telling. There was no telling in that neighborhood. The old people tell the cops, get the fuck out of here. 80-year-old black ladies, you just get the fuck out of here. Or nobody wants to fucking see you. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy, bro. But never, even during the crack era, never have I seen substances being sold so blatantly and out in the open and with not much concern because the police were scared to come there. They were underfunded, and it was a volatile environment, man. You know, man, man. I remember this one dude, man. He'd be out on the front porch cleaning his guns just to let everybody know Uzis, fucking all kinds of shit. Like, don't play with me. You know what I mean? He was one of the main guys, like lieutenant or number 2. And it's just, well, you go by there and he's got a collection. He's out there cleaning them and shit. And like, nah, you ain't cleaning them, bro. You trying to let motherfuckers know, like, hey, I got Uzis and Max. Don't mess around. But I never encountered one raid. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember one time being raided. I don't remember nobody going to jail for possession or slanging. You know, I was young. It's been many years. We're talking on 30 something years ago. But man, I just don't remember all these trap spots. And there's other people that had trap spots in the hood too. You know what I mean? I don't know who they were. They weren't friends of mine. But you never woke up and seen 40 police cars out there. They didn't come. They just let you just do what you did in that area. And that's how it is growing up in the hood, man. This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room. Little personal story. Keep your kids safe, y'all, because it's a rough world.